Hello, Opening Pathways viewers. This is Tom Lenoble, and I'm excited to have you with me today for my very special guest, Purvi Mehra. She is the CEO and founder of Dagnee, which we're going to learn all about and all about Purvi. I've been excited to have Purvi on the podcast, but I had to wait for her vacation to Peru to be over before I could snare her in with you today to have her join us. So, Purvi, welcome to Opening Pathways.
Thank you so much, Tom. It's such a pleasure to be here.
I'd love for you to tell us two things, a little bit about Dagney and what was it that sparked your idea to start Dagney?
Great question. So I'll start with the idea that sparked it. So the idea really came from my own experience of selling a healthcare business. I'm a physician by training, internal medicine and allergy and immunology, and my husband is a psychiatrist. And in 2009, we started a clinical trials company. It was just a few people. And then, over the years, it grew to this thriving company of 70 people. We were so proud of the team and what we were doing. It was really meaningful. Artemis was our baby for sure. And then, by 2020, things had changed. We had three young kids. The pandemic hit. They were home. We were both working full time. And we had to figure out what the next chapter would be and what would be best for our family. And that's when the idea of selling became real. And it was surprising. It was so confusing and so isolating. We had no idea where to start. And it felt really scary. Like, even talking about wanting to sell, it felt like if our staff and customers and competitors found out that it would risk the business, everything would unravel. So we just kind of like sat with it between the two of us for a while. And finally, we confided with a trusted advisor. And he introduced us to an investment banker. We were really lucky to sell to the right buyers, to a KKR firm. And I think even more important than the sale, because we found the right buyer, Artemis thrived and grew long after we were gone. So, that was my experience. But the piece of it that stuck with me is, I felt like this was our journey, but I think this is many small business owners' story, right? They are so proud of what they built, but then when they're ready to leave, they're so afraid of what's going to happen to their legacy when they leave. So that's where the idea of Dagney came from, really, was that experience. And Dagney is a way to kind of attack this problem head on. It's an easy, confidential platform where owners can start exploring. They can start looking at what a sale would look like. They can connect with buyers on their own terms, and they can start building relationships because for all of us in anything we want to do in our life, having the right relationships to support us and get us to where we want to go is the most important thing.
Wow, how exciting is this? So I want to know, and that means my viewers want to know, what was the moment with Dagney that made you say, this is it, I know this is my path?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, it was probably so after we sold the business, I went back to school and I went to get my MBA at UCLA Anderson. And really Dagney was born there. I wasn't sure what the next chapter of my life was going to look like, and I was looking for my purpose outside of patient care, really. And I remember talking to my good friend Rich Wright, and we were talking about this idea, and all of a sudden we both got so energized. It was like it really, the idea was born and started having its own purpose. And in that moment, I realized like this is something really special. This is real. This is a problem. And my friend Rich had had a different circumstance where they had had a business and they couldn't sell it. And so, like many businesses, it closed, right? So when we were talking about it and we were talking about the problem, it was in that moment that it was clear that Dagney was the thing.
Wow. I want to go back a little bit. physician and then sell your business and then go to business school and then start a business. And oh, there's a backstory here. I want to know some of the earlier chapters. Were there role models? What went on that got you on this path to be a physician and then I think have the courage to sell your business and move on to something new, a whole business venture away from medicine, although I'm sure it still serves you well. What's the backstory?
Yeah, I really have to say it's my parents. My mom and dad were immigrants to the United States. My dad came here to become a chemical engineer. And, they are just amazing. And my mom is really like the spirit. She is so full of energy. And her life is based on connecting and helping people. She's really entrepreneurial, but the spirit is always like, if I was joke, if you put my mom in a room, she will have talked to pretty much everybody in the room within a half an hour. And they'll know intimate details about each other. And that life and energy and bravery, I think, was really deeply embedded in us from our childhood.
Wow, I love the story of. I'm always interested in how people um, got things started and who their role models were, and it's almost always a parent or a grandparent that really fostered their achievement and the spark in their life. So tell me, I want to know a little bit about your leadership style, and was there something? Um, a pivotal experience at Dagney or maybe before that really started making and forming what you became your leadership style? And what is it?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I think leadership styles develop over time, right? I think that there was a few critical learnings in Artemis. We had no experience managing, right? I mean, we were physicians and all of it came uh, through some painful learnings, quite honestly. But somewhere along the way, we were introduced, somebody recommended we go to a leadership class, and we went to um, something about servant leadership, right? Like you, as the leader, you are there to serve. And I think that finally like clicked. It resonated in me. I really felt that always with patient care, but translating those fundamental concepts of patient care. You're there to serve, you're there to nurture people, you're there to help them. And then really translating it on the broader level has been very important. And at the end of the day, the leader's job is to serve each person in the team, the mission, and the leader needs to put that above their own discomfort or really their own agenda. That doesn't have a place. And the more you invest in people, the better it works out, no matter what happens, right?
Wonderful. Wonderful. I want to know, was there a time you doubted your vision at Dagney? Was there something that happened and you were like, okay, well, this was a great idea. We got all excited. Was meant to be, but oh my gosh, what's going on? What happened?
Yeah, every time you start something new, there's doubt, right? All of us have done that. I know that uh, you're working on a few things, and there's excitement, right? But there's also doubt. They come together, they come hand in hand, and especially when there's something you've never done before or something new. I certainly with Dagney, I had doubt of, will people use it? Is the market ready? It's a completely different process than what exists today. But then every time I talk to a business owner and they were like, we don't know what to do. We don't know how to face this. We don't know the right people. It always brought me back that, I may have doubts along the way, but for sure the problem is real because I lived it and so many other people are living it. So there's no doubt that there's something that can be fixed and made better.
It's exciting. Yeah, I love when we identify a problem and we've got something that can help fix it. We experienced it ourselves and we know other people can use it. And to me, that's all about service, right? If you could go back to day one, would you do something differently or would everything be the same?
Uh, you know, it's interesting, right? Things often don't go right. That's part of the process. I mean, we had some tech, even today, right? We were working through something at the very beginning, and that's where the learning and growth happens. So I don't know. I really do believe that everything happens for a reason, and then you have to learn and grow from it, and that benefits you greatly moving forward. So I don't really think I would have done anything differently.
Good, good, good. How did you find your first customers? What started the traction?
Well, the traction is starting right now. So today, actually, I'm going to be launching on LinkedIn, and I have users already, but through very small, just people talking to me and saying I'm interested and I want to sign on. But now we'll be launching on a much larger scale, and my goal is to connect with everybody who wants to be on the platform, who is at some part of this journey, and talk to them, learn about their story, and see if there's some way I can help them in a meaningful way. And I'm confident the platform is going to do that. But I also like to just talk to people and learn about what's happening and how I can help. So I'm really excited to continue meeting people, getting them onto the platform. And it's funny. When I talk to people about this, so many people say, "Oh, that doesn't already exist." I'm surprised. And so uh, I think now it exists and people can use it.
I know I'm so fortunate. I get to talk to, founders and CEOs and even executive directors of nonprofits on this podcast. And some of the people I've been able to talk with, it's great. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish we had had this, 20 years ago or whatever. And it's been really great of how things keep evolving and we keep using new technology and ideas. That's facts. That brings me to my next question. We're in this era of technology seems to be moving so quickly, and AI, which is here to stay, as controversial as it is for some people, it's here. And I'm curious about how you balance new innovation with sustainability. How do you look at keeping up with the technology and keeping the lights on?
Yeah, that's a great question. The basis of Dagnee wouldn't exist if we didn't have the technology we have today, right? The the platform allows people to meet confidentially and explore and connect the way they want to. And in real life, you can't do that, right? If you go into a room, you immediately see everybody in that room and everybody knows everything. And it's it's an amazing thing that technology is letting us do as much as we can. I think it's just a wonderful time to be alive, really. I've never seen things move so quickly. But from a sustainability aspect, I think the most important thing is to remember that uh, the human relationship trumps everything.
Yes.
It trumps technology. We can use technology to help facilitate those things, but the meaning of life, the purpose of life, that comes from human to human connection, and that must be protected above anything else and above any some we might consider it an advancement, but if it takes us away from that, then I don't really think it's sustainable.
Yes. I think I hope that we preserve the human touch, creativity, and leadership as we go through these dramatic times with technology. And I was laughing with I worked a lot with Gen Z, and they were talking with me. They asked me the question about in a previous time when something happened like this, and I said, "Well, I remember being over the first fax that was sent at MCI, and we thought it was magic. A fax, we thought it was magic, and email used to be like, oh my gosh, email." And they were so much fun to watch their minds like kind of go like that. And I was going to tell them about old push button phones when we got those from Rotary on the wall, but I said I was dating myself too much. I wouldn't go that far back. So I want to know about your team and your leadership. Tell me about leadership principles that you've learned that you use in managing your team and building culture.
Yes, great question. The Okay, so the job of the leader in my mind is to develop trust, right? And the only way to do that is direct and honest communication with compassion. So every person on the team, and trust is a two-way street, right? The team needs to trust in the leader, but the leader needs to trust in the team. So a lot of times we avoid difficult conversations because they're uncomfortable, right? Giving, feedback, asking questions in the moment. And that's the job. That the job of leadership is that you overcome that to best serve the team and the culture. So when mistakes happen, which they're going to, that's how we learn and grow. When there's a different opinion, when there's, somebody wants to go on to pursue another position, all of those things are going to happen. And the way you handle them in a way that is still true to them in that serving capacity is to have those direct and honest
Yes.
conversations so that they can have those direct and honest conversations back to you, right? So that to me is a critically important piece of culture. Everybody needs to be seen and heard and nurtured and appreciated, and trust is kind of the bedrock for all of that.
I love this word trust. It's so important. And I think people want to have these conversations. We just want to do it. And I think they want it also where they feel safe, they feel heard, and they know that there's not a ramification to it, that they're going to grow from it. I think we all need that. In fact, I think it's the true definition of a leader. How do we develop other leaders that can develop other leaders? Otherwise, we're missing a key component of it. And trust certainly is the at the base of it. And I love that you brought trust up. It means so much. I'm curious about um, what you've learned about building the leadership beneath you. As we grow, we have to then trust other people to lead. If we don't do that, we don't really grow ourselves, or we can't expand. How has that worked for you of building leadership beneath your leadership?
Yes, that takes practice, I think, right? You have to have some rotations around it to see how it feels and what you're naturally inclined to do and what's best. And I think the first step of developing leadership is assessing what the person wants, right? Everybody operates differently. That's the beauty of the team is that you get really different styles, different opinions. I think most of us get used to doing things the way we do things, right? And so when you want to develop leadership skills, I think the very first step is finding out what that person wants for themselves, right? In what way do they want to develop as a leader? Not everybody has the same idea, nor should they, because that would be a very boring one note team. So, the first step in leadership is to find out what that person's aspirations are and how you can nurture those, right? And they may not always be in a standard way that suits whatever, right? The company, the team, what you're trying to do. But when you take the time to find out what that person really wants and you can align on that, you have the best chance of helping them develop. And for them to develop in a way that's meaningful to them is much more important for them than you having an image of how they should develop, right? That's your image. You have to find out what they want for themselves.
Love this. So I want to know are what impact have you made in your careers? What impact have you made that you're most proud of?
You know, I honestly would just say uh it's that individual relationship that I've developed first with my patients and then with my team and now in Dagnee. I love when someone is at a crossroads. They're trying to figure out something. And if you can help them see their vision and cheer them on, it can give them the confidence they need to take the next step. So there's been so many amazing things. Building Artemis, we worked on a really critical drugs, some of the COVID vaccine studies. A lot of the medicines that were approved are now available for the population to use, which I'm very proud of. But at the end of the day, I think, it's one conversation, it's one relationship with a patient, it's one relationship with someone that I worked with that is those are the most impactful and memorable in my mind as something that I'm so proud of.
I love that. How do you define success beyond metrics? What does success mean to you?
Success to me is living a life of purpose and living with intent, right? Understanding that time is our most precious resource, it's non-renewable. We, when I'm living with purpose and I'm having a day where I'm in flow and I'm really excited what I'm doing, that day is a success. And those days together, that's success. It's not a metric, it's a feeling of energy and positivity and optimism and fulfillment. That feels so good.
Yes, yes. I love asking this question of leaders. It's always interesting to me hear responses, so I'm going to ask you as well. How do you navigate pushback, whether it's from within the company or outside forces, but how do you handle pushback?
So the first thing that I always have to remind myself is that pushback is not personal, right? Pushback is because there's something going on for that external force or that person that I don't have visibility to yet, right? Or if I have visibility to, I don't have the depth of understanding I need. So for pushback, the first thing I have to really do is recognize that it's not personal. I need to spend some time understanding where the pushback is coming from. And then there needs to be really open communication about it, right? You have to let that person or that whatever it is come to light, that we have to talk through it because for all I know, there may be a really good reason for that
Yes.
pushback that I don't know yet, right? So if I just try to shut it down, that's not going to serve anything. So I think the first part of pushback is really letting it see the light and getting some space and time.
Yeah, I find just being open to the fact that I just might learn something. That the surface of what it feels like might be there could be something hidden in there that I might want to learn about. But I like your idea about being open to hearing it. What's the boldest vision for Dagney in the next 5 years?
Yeah, this is the fun part, right? So the boldest vision for Dagney is that it will be the trusted platform where every single healthcare business in the United States lives, where thousands of owners are meeting thousands of buyers. They're taking their first steps, they're connecting, and then they're actually selling. And those businesses are now under capable hands and they're growing. They're caring for patients, creating jobs, serving their communities. You know, it's really sad when a business owner's energy declines and a business itself declines and then it closes. You know, there was a lot of work there. There was a lot of momentum that, if it's passed on to the right person, can continue its legacy. And then also, the big vision is that there isn't this stigma of all of it, right? Like, this is the natural course of life. And I want all owners to feel, you know, comfortable recognizing that they're going to exit their business one day and what do they want it to look like. And you know, someday, if you want something to happen someday, you have to start working towards it today. So if we can just take the stigma away and talk about it and let it, you know, have a life that's not full of guilt and remorse, and they see that there's a new chapter for them and somebody else is going to start their chapter in this business, I think that's the big vision.
Yes, I love this. Tell me when things get tough, they always do, and when we're doing this work, when things get tough, what keeps you inspired?
Yeah, I think the thing that keeps me inspired is that I feel better and I feel fulfilled if I'm helping other people. So as long as I connect to that service piece, it fires me up. Like, even if the day is terrible, if I have one conversation where I've added value, I've helped, that's enough for me to get charged up and move past the discomfort.
I love that. What are you most hopeful about in the world today?
I'm most hopeful about what the future is going to look like. We have three kids, and I understand there's a lot of negative talk now, right? And there's definitely things that need improving, but overall, I'm extremely optimistic about where this world is going because I see our youth as incredible. Like they're it's funny, you hear a lot of things like they're lazy and I don't think any of that is true. I think maybe every generation starts to feel like that at some point. I'm not sure, but technology is amazing. Our kids are really invested and they're smart and they're caring and they're kind. And I am very excited and optimistic about all the things that are going to happen.
I love that you brought this up. I've had the good fortune to work with many different generations, Gen X, Gen Y, the millennials, Gen Z now, and hopefully soon Alpha. But what I've noticed is where they're all labeled as lazy with their own qualifiers. The millennials they were lazy and they all have tattoos. They were, Gen X was they're lazy, but they don't like to do this or whatever we all got. Then I started thinking to myself, I think I remember I was called lazy too. And I think we have a real shift to make, those of us as we get older with the newer generations, and not look at it as being lazy. People are trying to find their way. And I think we have a responsibility to share life's wisdom and hold space for them to find that and understand that without labeling the new generation as lazy because they are trying to find something new to do. I think Gen Z is brilliant how they're looking at mental health, for example, or even how they're looking at um, taking work and working, and then taking a break, almost a mini retirement to recharge and coming back to it of things that are healthy that I think we talked about in past generations and never actually put into action. Even this idea of where we work and how important that is, or is it really that the work gets done? I know we've talked about that, but putting it into real action of saying, no, I'm going to buck up against this because the goal is to get the work done, not where I am when I do it, and how we navigate that is so important. So, what would you tell an emerging founder? What would you want them to know? Somebody that was just starting on a path?
Well, I would say for an emerging founder and really for anybody who's starting something new, it's really important to surround yourself with the right people. Energy is currency. So when you have something new, it's like a little seed, right? And you have to give it energy of the sun and water, and you really have to protect it too, right? You have to put up a little fence until the plant is stronger and can take care of itself in more ways. And that fence is around negative energy. There are always people out there who are going to tell you that your idea is not good and it's never going to work. And they're going to give you all the reasons why it's not going to work. And you just don't need that. That can kill an idea before it even makes one step forward. So I would say for an emerging founder and for all of us as we start something new, find those people who energize you, who believe in your idea, they believe in you, and they're not yes men. They're not the people who just say yes to everything. In that energy, there's space to disagree, there's space to challenge, there's space to work on things together. I was so lucky in business school. A good friend of mine and classmate, Rich Wright, was just instrumental in pouring energy into this idea and working through concepts. I had a mentor, Professor John Ullman, Dan Nathanson, Eugenio Abente. Denise, Hannon, Faya Zorab, all these people have just been so incredibly positive and encouraging and supportive. And there's no way we would be here today if it wasn't for those people. So I'm immensely grateful to them. And I see that if I didn't have them around me, probably we wouldn't have gotten here. So find those people, find your people that love your idea and they love you and they want you to succeed and they want you to help people and make sure you're surrounded by them.
Yeah, viewers, do a little rewind. That was some some wisdom being shared here from Purvi today. Purvi, I have one final question for you for today. Um, if your younger self was watching this podcast, what would you tell them?
I think I would tell her that it's okay to be scared and it's okay to have doubt and it's okay to struggle and that the journey is about all of it, the highs, the lows, the growth, and as much as she can, enjoy every moment of it.
Wonderful. This has been a delight. Purvi Mehra of Dagnee, the founder and CEO. Tell us one more time a little bit about Dagnee before we go.
Sure. So, Dagney is like a match.com. It's basically where owners create a short and easy profile. It takes less than 10 minutes. Buyers do the same. Our algorithm matches them. You get alerted you have a match. If you both like the match, you give it a thumbs up and you can start talking. What's really cool about this algorithm is that it actually scores you and the other person between 0 and 100. So you know before you even start your conversation how much you have in common. And then everything is left to you at your own terms. You develop your relationship the way you want. You proceed if you want, when you're ready. So Dagney is here to make it possible for us all to explore these things in a really safe and comfortable way.
Wonderful. Purvi, thank you for being with me today on Opening Pathways.
It was such a pleasure, Tom.
Great. And to my viewers, this is Opening Pathways with Tom Lenoble, and I'll see you next time.